When it comes to discussion about FNAF fan media on the internet, I don't really see the Roblox side of things being talked about. There are tons, and I mean tons, of Roblox FNAF fan games, with a good majority of them being roleplay games. Yeah, a lot of them kind of just take the normal FNAF animatronics or give them spruced up little designs and then give them a new location and call it a day. But some of these games go out of their way to make their own characters, their own worlds, and their own stories to tell. And while I never actually role-played in these roleplay games myself, I kind of just took in the worlds that these developers would create. I just got really invested in these character designs and some of the lore that would get sprinkled around the maps. It's kind of like a little Easter egg hunt if you think about it. Games like Project Freak Show, Hugh's Arcade, Red's Pizzeria, the Project Shirley games, and the subject of today's video, the Showman's games. These games are created by Roblox developer I'm Not a Real Person, who now goes by Clover, and that is how I will be addressing him throughout the video. Now, before I begin my massive deep dive on this entire series, I would like to preface that a good majority of these games I'm going to be talking about in this video are not playable anymore, for one reason or another. So you're probably wondering, well, that Nigel guy, where did you get all your footage for this game? Well, to answer that question, I would like to present the man, the myth, the legend, Gallant Gaming.
I'm gonna call you, John.
Gallant Gaming was, and technically still is, like, the main Roblox FNAF fan game YouTuber. He plays these games all the time. It's practically all he does on his main channel. So naturally, he made a lot of videos on Showman's, and I will be using a lot of these videos to kind of document the evolutions of most of these games. I also have a lot of Sasquatch level footage of the Showman's games from back when I did play these back in the early days of 2019 to 2020. Hopefully they will help fill in the gaps of this massive story I'm about to tell today. So strap in, grab your favorite snacks, and let's begin, shall we? Now, right off the bat, we already have a semi-confusing case. For the longest time before, I would say last year, this game was lost. It got randomly taken down sometime in 2022, I think, and then randomly came back in 2025. However, thanks to my Sasquatch footage, we can see the before and after of this game. So, let's begin with what we have now and then go backwards. In the version you can currently play now, there's only a very tiny diner and a few houses to look at. Going inside the diner, you can find 5 animatronics, 3 in the main room and 2 in the side room. While I don't know the names of most of these characters, I can pinpoint that the guy in the purple shirt is Showman, or Diner Showman as he would later be known as. The other character you can easily recognize because of later games is known as Springlock, this green bunny wearing black shorts. She appears in some way, shape, or form in every single Showman game after this, or at least most of them. Now, in my footage, we can see a very, very different sight. It's raining outside, the sky is dark, there's a hole in the ceiling that you have to climb a ladder and then jump through. Showman is giving the seizure eyes. The cupcake guy is just standing there. Everyone else is gone, and there's a pool of blood underneath Showman. Now, I don't know about you, but this might just be the Bite of 83 of the Showman's games. Now, 2 other things to note is that there's a building behind some of the houses named Core Robotics, which from what I remember linked to a game that had nothing to do with Showman's, like, at all. I don't know, you're just gonna have to trust me on that one. And there was an animatronic sitting on the side of the pizzeria that was removed in the re-upload of this game. While you can't see his face in-game, the Game Pass for this game actually shows what his face looks like. There's a lot of unknowns of this game, both in its current state and what it used to be like. I honestly don't have that much else to say about this game, so let's just transition to the next game. Okay, real quick side note. So, I was looking over some of my footage and I realized that there's actually a secret room behind the show stage in the Showman Diner. It's a completely empty gray room, but it is still interesting to note because maybe there was something in the 2018 version that I never figured out was there. I don't know, just a weird little discovery that I made while I was making the voiceovers. Okay, back to the actual video now. Okay, so when looking at this game from a first-hand glance, you might be thinking this just looks like bendy. Like the lighting is like bendy, there's a bendy clock on the wall. And to that I say, you're absolutely right. I don't think it amounts to anything outside of the fact that Clover must have just really liked bendy back then. And they're There's nothing else to really say about that. Now, looking at the animatronic characters in this game compared to the ones in the Showman Diner, they are a little taller, and they do look slightly different from each other. There's also this new bear character and this fox character next to Springlock on the secondary stage, and inside of the parts and service room, I guess that's what that is, there's like a bunch of other animatronics there. I don't think any of these characters have names, and I don't think they're all that relevant. I think it's still just these three guys on the main stage and Springlock are our main relevant characters as of now. Now, one anecdote that I do have about this game is that next to the main stage, there was a secret false wall you could walk through, which upon walking through it, you'd find this weird little thing sitting in a chair, and if you touched it, it would actually jump scare you. Now, thanks to a later game, I actually have proof that this was a thing at one point, and we will get back to that way later. The thing that I should absolutely note about this game is that during the time period this game was, well, active and had an active user base, Clover was friends with another Roblox dev by the name of Sage Lupa, who made a game called Lefty's Pizzeria. This led to some crossover between the two games, with some characters from that game who were dev morphs being in this game, and the main three being in a secret area within the vent system area in FNAF 6. It was a little mock-up diorama of the main show stage area from Showman's Pizzaland. Gallant actually did find this Easter egg in one of his Lefty's Pizzeria roleplay videos, which inadvertently put Showman's on his radar. Now, this last point that I have about this game doesn't technically relate to this game, but rather a different game that I found when trying to search Showman games on Roblox. I found this game called Showman Memory that was made by Clover, but is not accessible. Not when I found it, not now. And honestly, your guesses are as good as mine when it comes to what this game had in store. Alright, this is it, people. This is the big game right here. If you say the words Roblox and Showman in the same sentence, people are going to think of this game. So how am I going to talk about this game with this big legacy across 2 versions and several updates between those 2 versions? Well, I'm going to start with the elements that change the least. The characters. Let's begin with Funtime Showman. Now, I know you might notice a little bit of Funtime Freddy here, a little Ennard there, but I still think he looks cool. Like, the green and purple combo he's got on his torso is really cool. The Springlock hand puppet looks really good. I like the top hat that you can change into a fez. Honestly, my only real gripe with him is that, like, his deactivated sit animation, like, clips to the ground, kinda, but, like, that's, like, a nitpick. Overall, I think he looks pretty good. Next up, we have Demoness, who I'd say, for these FNAF RP games back in 2018, I think she actually has a pretty original design. I really dig the hook on her back, on top of like all the withering. It gives her like a lot of character, honestly. Another really good design in my opinion. Next up, we have Diner Showman, who yes, is the one from the Showman Diner. I don't have too much to comment on when it comes to his design outside of him looking like a hamburger. I think he looks fine. I don't know what's going on with his hand right there, but like. Next up is the first of several characters that were added in an update. That being Dance Laura. No, not Dance-A-Laura, Dance Laura. Now, on first impressions, she kind of looks like a mixture of Baby and Ballora and the Mini-Renas. I still actually think her design is pretty okay, though. I think her overall color palette is pretty good, and the wheels are a nice touch. Also, just for the record, I will be bringing up her newer design later, and not right now. Next up is Flipside, who you will see shortly is a fan favorite from this series. Her design is very simple, being basically a purple pixelated fox. Even though I think her design is simple, I still do think it works, you know, being Shadow Bonnie inspired. Next up, we have Shadow Bear, who's totally not Shadow Freddy. He's made of this weird jelly looking material, and he's got yellow accessories and blue eyes. Interestingly enough, if you look at his model through glass, his textures or material or whatever doesn't render, so you just see his bare endo and nothing else. Overall, I think his design is okay. I like how he floats, and I like how he holds his head, just trying to aura farm a little bit, as the kids say. Our last character we'll be talking about for now is Scrap Showman. He was available for a very brief time, with only people having VIP being able to play as him. He's a very beaten, broken, and withered version of Funtime Showman, who we talked about earlier. Like, come on, not even the Springlock hand puppet is there. What possibly happened to her? Overall, I think his design is fine, a little basic, and not really all that much done to the original Funtime Showman model. Now, looking at the map before this game got its massive revamp I will talk about later, it's pretty okay. There's a nice little forest outside. The pizzeria is surrounded by a bunch of houses prizes you can enter. Oh yeah, and the pizzeria itself. It's got a little prize counter with, I think, spring lock with a sign hidden in the back saying, "Don't flirt with the bunny." This character got completely removed from the game after the original release of this game, by the way. The pizzeria is pretty basic. It's just your run-of-the-mill FNAF location, nothing too crazy. There are two things to mention about the pizzeria, however. One of them is a secret room that was changed 3 separate times during this map's lifetime. The first one is a dark and dingy office, which is totally a reference to Showman's Pizzaland. I mean, look at the light. Like, you see it too. Please tell me I'm not the only one. The second version was actually how you became Flipside for a short amount of time before she was relegated to a game pass. And the last one was this weird little area with a cage with this weird puppet amalgamation thingy. And on the other side of the room, it had text saying, "Don't wake the baby." And there's also this teapot guy, he's just kind of chilling there. Now, based on a later game, we know that this weird puppet amalgam thing's name is the baby, or Elizabeth. It honestly doesn't matter that much. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about the baby's design. I really like it. I think she looks really cool. I really like the paint on her mask, the blue and pink contrast really well with each other. Anyway, the other interesting thing about this pizzeria is that there was an event stage where apparently moderators of the game would like go and do special events there. I don't think any of them were caught on camera though, so guess add that to the Showman lost media iceberg, I guess. I don't know. Now, when it comes to outside the pizzeria, there are some noteworthy secrets around here too. Formerly, you could get Shadow Bear as a badge character, which all you had to do is just go behind the pizzeria to get the now removed Shadows badge. Now, what's funny is that the Game Pass also existed at the same time, so there was just 2 doors. You either could spend a Robux or just go behind the pizzeria to get them more for free. And there were also recolors of Shadow Bear that just don't exist anymore. Okay. You can find Springlock from Pizzaland outside here. So I forgot to mention this earlier, but Springlock is also outside of the Lefty's Pizzeria roleplay building in that game. So that's a neat little fun fact. And the last thing to note about the map during this era of the game is the flip side, where if you touch this slightly translucent pillar, you'd be teleported to the flip side. This place must have changed like 4 separate times during the lifespan of this era, and I have no clue what any of it means, so I'm not going to try to dissect it or anything. But if you want to, my dear viewer, well, it's on screen for you right now. The last thing to note about this version of the game, period, is the VIP room. The VIP room has such iconic Showman characters like Playtime and the Principal of the Thing and Helpy and Pingu and the Showman mask, which just became free to everyone in the newer version of the game. So I bet you think we're done with Showman's Rebooted since I just went and talked about it for like 6 minutes. You're so wrong. Now we have to talk about the Halloween version of it, silly. Alright, I'm not going to spend too terribly long on this game because there is way more interesting stuff right after this, so I'm going to kind of lightning round the characters for this. First up, we have Jacko Showman, who is a recolor of a character we actually haven't seen yet, and we'll talk about him later. I know I keep saying that, but please trust me, in like 4 games it'll all make sense, I promise. We then have recolors of Demon S, Dance Laura, Diner Showman, and Scrap Showman. I really like how Scrap Showman is just called Bootleg Scrap Trap. I think that's really funny. Under the map, there's also a secret morph named Corrupted Flipside. She's pretty cool. She has 4 hands and 2 extra mouths. I think she looks pretty cool. There's also a Game Pass character called Consequences, and trust me, there will be a lot of OMC iconography throughout the rest of these games. Just like, don't be surprised if you see a red lake in like a lot of these games. Sadly, Gallon Gaming doesn't show Consequences animations, so Consequences is going on the fabled Showman Lost Media iceberg. Sad. Now, moving on to the map, it's probably the least interesting map in the entire series. It's just kind of a field that's surrounded by trees and the pizzeria's in the center. However, the pizzeria itself is a little interesting. From what I could tell, this pizzeria is based off Gallon Gaming's old Minecraft roleplay channel, simply called Freddy. This building is featured in 3 of the episodes, but I'm not going to talk about the other 2 because they don't even go into the building until the 3rd one. In the 3rd video, our intrepid heroes sneak into Showman's pizzeria, and they're in there for a bit, and then they get chased out by Demon S, and that's the end of the video. I would say more about this game, but it was literally only around for like 2 weeks, so like, I don't really know what else to say. Let's just quickly move on. So what happens when you take the Showman characters and put them in a more traditional FNAF gameplay style? Well, you'd get something like this. Underground Diner went through 2 separate revisions, and I'm going to be talking about both of them right here, right now. The first version of the game has 3 difficulties: Normal, Nightmare, and Classic. Although, according to Gallant in his video, Classic doesn't work as of the time of the video being recorded. Normal mode has no power draining, no vent to shut, no door to shut, and only one threat, being Flipside. All you do is just push the button when it's red to banish Flipside back into the arcade machine, I guess. I don't know. And that's it. Very uneventful game mode. Nightmare adds 4 more characters and makes Flipside way more difficult. The characters added being Funtime Showman, Dance Laura, Scrap Showman, and the Baby. Now, sadly, I can't really tell you what Dance Laura or the Baby actually do, but I can make assumptions as to what Scrap Showman and Funtime Showman do. Basically, if you let Funtime Showman in, he'll just drain more of your power, and that's about it. Scrap Showman appears on the vent to your left, and if you don't shut it, you just die. There's also a cooldown added to the Flipside arcade button, so you can't just spam it to deal with Flipside. Now, Gallant never beat Nightmare mode, so we can't exactly tell what happens if you were to beat Nightmare mode. All that happens in Classic mode is Diner Showman slowly walking towards you, and once he arrives at your door, you just die, and that's kind of it. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about pre-revamp Underground Diner. So now, let's talk about the second version. Now, version 2 has way less going for it than V1 did. If there's anything I could compare the gameplay of this game to be, it would be T-Jock Reborn, as in T-Jock Reborn if you just ran in a circle for 5 minutes, and that's the entirety of the gameplay. Now, time for another little anecdote here, but since Gallant never actually beat Night 3, I decided to take it upon myself back when the game was still available to beat Night 3, and I actually made it to Night 4, and Demoness and Dance Laura were actually moving this night, and they are way faster than me, so I just die the moment I spawn. So no, I don't know what happens if you beat Night 4, or if there's any other nights after Night 4. The only other thing to note about this game is that Funtime Showman, Demoness, and Scrap Showman all have jump scare animations that are just never seen in Rebooted. One last thing I should bring up is that Clover apparently didn't have that much involvement with these games, and it was solely their friend Project Script working on them as a sort of coding test of sorts. So now, I bet you're all wondering, well, what's going on with Showman's Rebooted right now? Well, it's, looking like a real wasteland if you ask me. So a while back, around November of 2018, Showman's Rebooted received a massive update that completely changed the map as we know it, and it honestly looks kinda worse. Whereas with the pre-revamped map, you know, there was this nice little forest, and there's a bunch of trees surrounding the pizzeria. Here it's just like a giant floating landmass with just the diner and a bendy theater for some reason. Actually, not even that anymore. Now it's just a giant pool of water there. But before I talk about the map a little more, let's discuss 2 characters real quickly. The first one is Dance Laura's new model, and honestly, I like this one significantly less than the original one. See, at least with the original one, even if it did look like a weird combination of 3 different FNAF characters, at least the design, looked original to an extent. Whereas with this new Dance Laura, she just looks like a Ballora colored to look like Baby. In my opinion, this design is honestly a downgrade. The only character actually added to the game sometime after the map got reworked completely is Barry the Beaver. Barry the Beaver will become way more talked about in the latter half of the series, but as of now, he's kind of just another animatronic, and honestly, he looks pretty cool. I like his animations, I like his stare that says 1,000 words, but I have to say, I hope you don't like Barry too much, because him and the new Dance Laura design just got randomly axed last December, with Dance Laura reverting to her old design, and Barry he just doesn't exist anymore. As for the map and the pizzeria, well, the pizzeria is significantly smaller. I like the vent that just leads from Demon Cove right to your office. It really does fit the FNAF building stereotype of just being a death trap. There were also 2 badges that were added to this game. Well, it would have been 3, but, you know, still no remember badge. The first one you get by touching this arcade machine in the back area, and then you get taken to Old Man Consequence's pond. I freaking told you he would come back. The second one you get by going inside of this little hut and then going towards a beam of light that takes you to some sort of office with a bunch of images of Showman, and one of the few pieces of evidence that there was a Showman Baldi mod at some point. Some other things to note about this location is that the Freddy Minecraft Showman Diner is referenced again in the back room. At one point there were posters that were teasing a future Showman game that I will talk about soon enough. And that's mostly it. I personally view this version of the game as a downgrade from the original version, but at the end of the day, what are you gonna do? It's not my game after all. I'm just throwing my 2 cents in, I guess. Also, do you know what this means? It means we're finally done talking about Showman's Rebooted related stuff, and we can finally move on to talking about other things, like more freaking Showman! Okay, now real quick, and I mean real quick, before I talk about the actual game, I gotta talk about the joke version of the game, and how there's nothing to talk about. Okay, there's one thing to talk about. You remember this guy from the Showman Diner? This is what he looks like now. You feel old yet? Okay, sorry about that. Outside of that, yeah, there's literally nothing else to say about the joke version of this game. And so on Christmas Day 2018, we received our little bundle of joy that is Showman's 2. And man, I do have things to say about this game, alright. This game's cast of characters follows the FNAF 2 formula, having toys and wizards, so I'm gonna cover the toys first and then cover the wizards and then talk about the extra characters after that. First up, we have Toy Show. That is a big guy. Yeah, one thing to note about the characters in this game is that they're freaking humongous. Anyway, Toy Showman takes the kind of contrasting green and purple colors of the original Showman and just adds more green. However, he no longer has a spring-lock hand puppet and now has a balloon instead. Next up, we have Toy Susie. Yeah, there is no Toy Dance Laura in this game. So yeah, Susie is basically the replacement for Dance Laura in this game. She's basically just Girl Showman with a different color palette. So instead of the purple and green, she has an orange and blue, which I think also looks pretty nice. I like the little ice cream she holds, and I think she's a pretty okay character. Next up, we have Red Toy Demoness. The tail's cool. I like the parrot. I don't really have much else to say about this character. I don't know, man. And lastly, for the toys, we have Toy Springlock, who is confirmation that this green bunny we've been seeing throughout the games is named Springlock. Outside of confirming that, she is just a green bunny. That's it. She looks pretty much the same as she did in the previous few games she was in, but now she's a toy animatronic, and that's about it. Now, onto the Wizards, we have Withered Showman, who is not the same as Funtime Showman. I mean, look at him. He doesn't have the hand puppet. He definitely looks like he's made out of a different material. He looks even more like Ennard than Funtime Showman did. And you can blatantly tell that he's the Withered Freddy of this game. Like, he does the same poses. He just gives that Withered Freddy energy, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I still think he looks cool, though. The purplish blue-green combo is pretty cool. Yeah, Withered Freddy, everybody. Next up, we have Withered Demoness, who, yeah, is a Withered animatronic. She's a very interesting-looking endoskeleton with a hard eye. Her feet clip into the ground when she's walking around. I don't know what else to say outside of the fact that she is the shortest character in the game, which is really funny. And next up, we have Withered Dance Laura. Yeah, she is back, and this is probably the best Dance Laura design in the series, even though it doesn't really match up with the original Dance Laura, but I still think she looks cool. Just kind of wish her only animation wasn't dabbing, but this is 2018, remember that. Finally, we have Crystal Showman, who, even though he is a recolor of Withered Showman, actually has his own unique animations, which is really cool. You can blatantly tell that he is the Withered Golden Freddy of this game, but hey, I think he looks cool. He's made of the same material as Shadow Bear, which is interesting to think about. Not really sure what his deal is outside of that, though. Now, there was gonna be a Withered Springlock, and there was going to be a playable baby in this game, but sadly, both were scrapped due to Clover losing both of the models. I mean, the baby model is in the Showman Museum in this game, but I don't know, maybe it's more complicated than that, I'm not sure. Now, as for the extra characters, I really only have 2 things to bring up as of now. One of them being a collection of shoes that are meant to represent the Showman's characters, which is pretty funny. And the other one being a blatant remodel of Withered Showman, but he's colored to look like a certain Showman fan game character, Grand Show. I don't know why I'm trying to hype that up. It's Grand Show. And I will explain who this Grand Show fellow is in a later segment, because I don't want to talk about Showman fan games right now. Now, there is one other bonus character in this game, but I will save him for after we talk about the map, because he is a story in and of itself, trust me. So, you know all those times where I was saying, oh, I'll answer it later, I'll talk about it later, the past like 7 sections of the video? Well, I think it's finally time I answer some of those questions. Presenting the Showman Museum, also known as my validation. From right to left of the building, this is how I found out the names of Nighttime Showman, the baby, the jump scare from Pizzaland, the fact that Funtime Showman's hand puppet is a Springlock variant, the fact that Susie is a variant area of Dance Laura, the secret rooms in both the Showman Diner and Showman's Pizzaland, as well as there being some other little tidbits, like there being an older Demoness design than Funtime Demoness, which you can see in this thanks for 70k views image that is seen throughout Rebooted and Underground Diner. The only thing I can really make out from this design is that she used to be way taller and she has way less withering on her before she was shortened and simplified as a design. See, I told you I would answer all those questions from earlier. Anyways, what's going on with the pizzeria? I would say the Showman's 2 pizzeria is probably the best one in the series. We got a prize counter with a bunch of Showman plushies. We have a carousel room. Demon Cove is its own room now. We have a little back room. We have a stage. We have this office. This very, very big vent. There's even this secret little hallway right next to the prize counter that has a sombrero that you can wear. So that's kind of neat. Alrighty, I think I put it off long enough. It's finally time we talk about the one badge that isn't the opening day badge that was added to this game. Creator's Sanity. Oh boy. So basically, in order to obtain this badge when it was available, you had to look around the pizzeria for these colored numbers. Then, you would drop through this trapdoor found outside the pizzeria, and you'd be taken to this weird neon place. You then had to walk through the doors with the numbers on them that matched the numbers in the pizzeria. Then one obby later, and you got yourself the badge. Now, there was a sign outside of the first door that said, "Don't show off the code or I will remove the badge." Now, what do you think our good friend, Gallant Gaming, famous for showing people how to get badges, what do you think he did?
Oh, it's just a guessing game. So it doesn't matter if anybody knows, because you just, oh man. What? No way. That's why the ceiling's so short. You're not supposed to be able to do the parkour. Oh, very nice. Very nice indeed. Oh, hello.
I think my favorite part about this whole saga is the comment he left in his video. He sounds so freaking smug. I love it, bruh. Needless to say, the badge was shortly removed after this video was uploaded. And to this day, 9 times out of 10, if Gallant brings up Showman's, he will bring up Creator's Sanity. I could name 3 videos at least where he did this. Needless to say, people were not happy at Gallant for showing the badge, and Clover for removing it. Now, I bet you all are wondering, well, what did you get for getting the badge? You got this character named Sinister Showman. Not Nighttime Showman, Sinister Showman. There's like a lot of evil Showmans in this series, if you couldn't tell. He's pretty cool. He's got this claw. I like his animations. He's very funny. I just think he has a cool design. He's very tall and lanky. I kind of love him. One last thing to note about this game is that if you went behind the pizzeria during the early days of this game, you'd find a bunch of messages written on the wall. There'd be a blue flooring. At the very end of this hallway, you would find Flipside's silhouette. Now, this is the one mention of Flipside in this game. She doesn't show up anywhere else in this entire game. But if you go there now, and I'm going out of order when mentioning this now, but whatever, you will find a little memory lane of sorts with a whole bunch of references to older Showman's stuff, ending with a message from Clover, basically saying that he's done with Showman's, which, you know, fair enough. And yeah, that's all the interesting stuff I have to say about Showman's 2 for now, because I'm going to bring it up in the next 2 sections a lot. Showman Circus began life just like Showman's 2 did, as a troll game. Sadly, this game is completely lost. From what I remember, it was just a giant room with a bunch of the shoes from the Showman Game Pass from Showman's 2, and that was it. Now, when it comes to the game itself, it was actually in early access, meaning that you had to spend 25 Robux on this game to even play it. And what did you get after spending that 25 Robux? Well, you got the Funhouse Showman morph, and you got access to the map. That's it. So let's begin with talking about the Funhouse Showman morph. And honestly, this is probably the best Showman has ever looked. Well, in my opinion, at least. Now with a pinkish red shirt and a purple vest, still with his green little bow tie, Showman's main colors just pop really well in my opinion. I especially dig the Springlock hand puppet. This is definitely the best that has ever looked as well. The puppet having one normal eye and one X'd out eye is pretty neat, honestly. I just like the little contrast there. Now, you think this would actually be the only morph in the game, but, well, I think Kirby 100 could explain it best.
Guys, this is epic. This is no joke, no scam. So you know the Showman Circus, right? It's in early access and all that jazz. Well, this is epic. Like, my heart is actually pumping. Go over here. There's a hidden morph. That's crazy.
Okay, cut the footage. No more, please. I don't want to listen to this anymore. No more. Now, moving on to the map itself, there really isn't all that much to talk about. It's just terrain tool galore with some free models lying around. But there is a couple original things that are noteworthy to talk about. There's this little ticket stand with little eggs of Showman, Demoness, Dance, Laura, and Springlock, and little Flipside plushies. And there's Grand Show's horror house. I told you he's still important. There's nothing too crazy in this house. I like the upside down room. That's pretty neat. And I like this little, like, bait and switch door where you think it's gonna be all ominous and there's just literally nothing in there. That's kind of funny. Also, in my footage, I clipped, like, into the, like, bottom of the map, and what a shocker, there's nothing down there. But I thought it was really funny that that happened. Now, sadly, the Showman Circus was canceled due to apparently lack of support. Apparently, what happened in the server that this game was mostly talked about in was, like, people were supposed to give Clover ideas or something, and there was a chance these ideas would get added to the game, but because basically nobody did it, the game just kind of died, I think. But good news to all my Funhouse Showman fans. You can still play as him in Showman's 2, so it's all good, I guess. Now, normally this would be the end of this section, but little ol' me has Sasquatch footage to continue the story. Basically, what happened one day is I was just minding my own business, scrolling through Game Jolt, and then I got recommended this. The Showman Circus on Game Jolt. And when I looked at the profile, I was surprised to see that Clover had a Game Jolt account. There wasn't really all that much on here except for the Showman Circus and Showman World. And can I just say, I adore the models in the Showman Circus. I love how they're rendered in this like little dithered style. All of the Funhouse characters just pop so well. I love these models so much. They look so good. Now, sadly, the Game Jolt account has been abandoned for over 6 years. So I don't think we're getting either of these games, but it's interesting to see that there were attempts to make actual Showman FNAF fan games and not just Roblox roleplays. This image and one morph are all that is known about Showman's The New Generation. Not even a Gallant Gaming video survives of this game. This one morph in question is none other than Barry the Beaver, but not the one from Rebooted. This Barry, donning purple overalls and a green hat, takes more of a glitch trap-esque appearance with his small eyes and wide grin. Oh, and he's voiced by Gallant Gaming. Like, all iterations of Barry from now on were voiced by Gallant Gaming. Really, that's real. Now, I bet you're shouting at me from behind the screen. That Nigel guy, how do you know that this Barry morph is from New Generation? Anecdote time! From the brief period that this game was available, I do remember this being the only morph there, and it having a pizzeria that was pretty unassuming and kind of bland, honestly, from what I remember. And also, why would he be placed next to Circus Showman, another character from another game you can't play anymore? Anyways, you know it's sad when I'm going to be talking about a non-Showman's game, but it's still relevant because Clover made it and Barry the Beaver is like right there, so you know. This is Mikey's Campsite, which is a game that has a mostly new cast of characters, having Mikey the Moose, Eve the Bee, our good buddy Barry the Beaver, and a reskin of Eve, being called Eve the Love Bug. There's really not all that much to say about this game. I like the character models. They're very stylized and kind of foreshadow a future game I will bring up in the next section. But much like most of the other games in this video, it too fell victim to becoming lost media. If you're wondering why most of these games became lost media in the first place, it's usually down to either the creators themselves privating them for one reason or another, or Roblox's unrated update, which basically made every single game that didn't have a definitive age rating unplayable. This also happened to every single Project Shirley game. And yeah, that's it. That's every single main Showman game covered. However, we're not done yet. I would like to go over brief appearances Showman has had in other Roblox games that are officially endorsed. I'm going to first talk about Clover's current project, FNAF Pizza Time RP, mainly because Showman is right there. He's even on this little art piece with Gallant Gaming, and under it is this really nice message saying that Clover basically wouldn't have an audience if it weren't for Gallant making that first Showman video. It's honestly a darn shame that he never saw this message, because it's really heartwarming. But anyways, yeah, Showman is a badge character in this game, and he has his own little design, which is neat. It goes back to the purple and green color scheme with no Springlock hand puppet. This is the design that is mostly seen in appearances outside of the main Showman games, like in FNAF TD, where he's a skin for the manager character. Showman also made an appearance in an old game made by Gallant Gaming, Ilutum, and some other people named Fazbear's Escape, where he was a skin for Bonnie. He appears in Hugh's Arcade as a badge character that you need to get 1,000 tokens in order to purchase him. He appears in Return to Animatronica as a playable character where you need to pay 20,000 tokens in order to unlock him, and an easy way to get to the Pinwheel Circus. And finally, like I mentioned earlier, he also appears on Gallant Gaming's FNAF Minecraft RP channel, simply called Freddy, where his likeness is seen in 3 videos. Now, I was gonna have a mini section also dedicated to Showman Fangames, but there really aren't that many of them. The only ones I can think of off the top of my head are My Duology, shameless plug I know, that were made for a game jam back in April 2021, and Corrupted Arts roleplay games. Yes, this is the person that made Grand Show. Yes, we are finally talking about Grand Show. There were 4 Grand Shows games in total, all 4 of them being lost. You have the original version of the first game, the updated version that was then split off into its own game, which also became lost media. There was a canceled Grand Shows 2 that has no proof of existing, and I only remember seeing it back when it was around, before Roblox's unrated games update happened. And finally, there was Grand Shows Terror Awakens, which was sort of a FNAF 4 themed RP game. Heck, Showman was even in the game as a Game Pass character. Now, around a year before Corrupted quit Roblox, he made one last game, this being Showman World RP. Now, I could gush about Showman World RP. I used to play this game all the time. I loved finding little secrets all over the place. I loved seeing the devs just show up and horsing around in the game. I really liked the art style of the game, even though it was super basic, but I still really liked it. And I tell you, it's still pretty freaking sad that the game closed down. Now, one thing that I forgot to bring up during the rebooted section of the video is that people apparently really liked Flipside. So much so that they would beg Clover constantly for the morph, to the point where she became a Game Pass character and then finally was just put in the VIP room, only to be moved back to being a Game Pass character. I bring this up now because the exact same thing happened with her in Showman World, to the point where it seemed Corrupted was getting equally as annoyed about it as Clover did back when Rebooted was in its prime. It got to a point where one time Corrupted put Flipside behind a 500 Robux Game Pass, and only had it on sale for around 5 minutes. Take a wild guess who the genius who bought that was. Yeah, in hindsight, this purchase was awful, especially because the final update was only like a month or 2 away, and then the game shut down like 3 months after that. But I distinctly remember Corrupted actually acknowledging that I was the only person that bought this Game Pass. And I remember not being able to say anything due to, parental restrictions and whatnot being put on me. But man, it was so funny how this all transpired. How I bought a Game Pass that was for 500 Robux, that was only around for 5 minutes, for a character that would eventually become free for a game that wasn't going to last much longer. But I think by now y'all get the picture. Now, in most other cases, that would be it. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I've said everything I've needed to say, right? However, I still had some lingering questions that I just could not live without the answers to. So, I did what any person would, and went straight to the source. I hope you enjoy the following. Hello.
Hello there.
What inspired you to make the Showman characters in the games that would follow?
Well, for the longest time, I guess the best way I can put it is, for the longest time, I had wanted to get people trying new things. Because at the time I started doing Showmans, it was mainly like Fredbear's and FNAF 1. It was just a lot of the same thing. Sure, the old looks different, but for the most part, a lot of them did the same things. I wanted to get people to try their own things, try their own ideas, inspire people. Though my inexperience really did shine through how poorly Showman was put together.
We all start somewhere.
Well, that's the best part, I would say. Because it did. In a way, yeah, sure, a lot of people still did the same things. And in a way, I did manage to accomplish my goal. So, I'd say I'm happy with it.
What event in universe caused the Showman Diner to be in a state of disrepair before you found the old version of it?
Right. Okay, here's the fun thing. I was planning on explaining this with a new Showman's game.
Really?
Yeah, I was gonna make a new one. With like a whole new cast of designs and all that. But with me planning to leave Roblox, now that won't really be as possible. So I guess I'll explain it quickly. I do have images, but I'll keep it simple. There are two founders. I don't remember the name of the other guy, but I know the main guy is called Oliver. They're both named after the color of suits they wear. If that makes anything. If that makes sense. So here's those two. Here's the founders.
All right, pop them on the screen here.
I'll try and keep it simple so I don't ramble too long. The idea is the guy in the red, I forgot his name, but it was like a kind of wine. Got a bit annoyed by all the attention Oliver was getting because he was the one that would make the suits and the animatronics. He was kind of just the main guy. So, in an attempt to ruin his company, he tampered with the animatronics, primarily Showman. On the next day was Oliver's daughter's birthday. And you may think, it's just the bite again. No, he doesn't, bite a kid. No, he falls. The idea was that he fell, crushing the kid.
Oh, so Diner Showman just, collapsed on top of the kid.
Yeah. My idea is that after the tampering, midway through a performance, it just starts freaking out. So aggressive shaking and all that, and then that shaking causes the whole animatronic to just fall. And the whole establishment was abandoned later on after Oliver just disappeared after the incident. That was meant to lead into the next game, where now the red guy owns the company, but there's barely any money after the incident. So they just attempted to convert this workshop place Oliver had into a new establishment. Well, with Oliver still in the walls, because he didn't die. He disappeared. He basically just pulled like a rat man, if that makes sense. He started living in the walls of this building.
What was Showman memory?
This was when I was first contemplating stopping with Showmans. My plan was it was going to be a big museum kind of thing. So you could see all the different versions of these characters and some images and art of unreleased stuff. Though that didn't go very far, because then I started planning an actual Showman's game, which was what I was rambling on about previously. So it was, I guess it's not anything that fancy, it was just a planned thing. Honestly, I'm surprised you saw that. Did I accidentally publish it?
What happened was, I was searching Roblox experiences for Showman games, just looking, and I think I randomly stumbled across it. It was private at that point, so I couldn't play it, but it was just there. And I was just like...
It just popped up?
It just popped up, and all it had was just a link to the Showman Diner. So I thought it was like a sequel to the Showman Diner at Pizzaland, because it linked to that.
Showman's ARG.
I know, that's what I assumed this was. That's how I always assumed it was.
No. I didn't intend it to be visible. I didn't even know that would happen. I didn't know that could happen. Oh my god. But the game was never finished. I never finished it. It didn't really go anywhere. Okay, it appears to be a recreation of the original map, but way more boring. There, you finally get an image of the inside. It's very, very boring.
What were your thoughts on the sudden popularity the series got from YouTubers? And by that I mean Gatlin Gaming, mainly him.
Well, I guess it's kind of a fun story. When Gallant first played the game, I was on holiday. So the connection was kind of poor, but I was up in the middle of the night just watching him play this game, sat on the stairs, because there was no connection in my room. And the joy I felt from just seeing this silly little game I made suddenly become popular out of nowhere. Because mind you, I was a kid. I see a lot of people say, hey, you made my childhood. It's just I was also a child at the time. This was June 13th. That was when I made the game. Rebooted, to be precise. Mind you, in May I'm going to be 21. So yeah, I don't I still don't know how to express it properly. I was just really blown away, I guess, at the fact that this silly thing I had made for fun suddenly just exploded out of nowhere. I was also horrified. Like any person would be.
What was going through your head when Gallant revealed the code for creator sanity?
I was annoyed, very annoyed. At the time, I think I told him, like, hey, please don't reveal the code, because I wanted an actual challenge. Because at the time, everything was too easy, because most YouTubers would just show on how to get it. It's just like, I didn't even think it'd be that difficult. Yeah, it was a little quiz, and then I don't know why the kill brick didn't kill you when you fell, but, like, you know... I was very annoyed because I went through all that and it's just like because like the code shouldn't have been that hard to find. The numbers are all over the map, all color coordinated, so you'd be able to tell which one's which. And she's like, that's the point. You're supposed to do it. You know, have a little fun, explore, get your bearings.
Do you have interest in making any future Showman games, whether, well, obviously not on Roblox, but like in any other engine?
Honestly, yeah. I would like making stuff with Showman outside of Roblox, though using his more up-to-date designs rather than the egg. Because I need to be blunt. There is that constant issue of Showman looks like Ennard. That's why I had planned to make him look more like this in the latest game, you know, before that died. Also, recreated, rebooted Showman with like some tweaks. Don't ask where Springlock is. I completely forgot.
This is the one you used in that like one animation, right? I can show that on the screen, right?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't really do blend animation, so it was like a fun test, and I've not been able to animate like that since.
Is there anything or any piece of advice you would like to say to people, the people at home watching the video right now?
Right, okay. I guess have fun with what you make. Don't try and make something because you know it'll get you a lot of money or something like that. Because what's the point? You'll lose the will to do it. Because if your only motive is just making as much money as possible, then like, what's the point? Someone else could do the same thing and then suddenly your player base is just gone. So make something you want to make. Make something you enjoy. Have fun with your creativity. Because yeah, sure, it'll look terrible at first. Everyone looks terrible at first. But as long as you can enjoy making things, I'd say it'd be worth it. Learn Blender, learn how to draw, learn whatever techniques you want. Just have fun. It'll be a slow process, yes, but really, once you manage to put something together that you can truly feel proud of, then where's the harm? You know?
Those were 7 out of the 20 questions that I asked Clover during our interview. If you want to see the full uncut interview, the link is in the description, as well as a link to a playlist with all the footage that I used in this video that wasn't mine. I want to give a massive shout out to Clover for doing the interview with me, and I highly suggest you all play his games. While they might not all be Showman related or FNAF related, I can tell that they all have lots of heart put into them. Also, massive shout out to Flawless Games. He made this beautiful thumbnail for the video. Please subscribe to his channel and follow him on Game Jump. And on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell and all that. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, y'all.